Hi sailors and welcome back to a new podcast here on explorenorth.no. I'm your host Jon Antrup. This time we're going to talk sustainability and ocean, my favorite topic. We are talking to Martin Hasselöf and Björn Bertoft as they are on board the boat Rimfare, which they have turned into a sailing science lab. And they have been on a trip on the west coast of Sweden and Norway, taking samples and trying to do a difference. They're also promoting citizen science, which is a topic I'm very passionate about. And so you should definitely listen to this, be inspired to do more sailing and do more sailing with a purpose. So listen up. It's time for a new podcast. I'm in beautiful Oban on the west coast of Scotland, and on the west coast of Norway there are a couple of Swedes on a science expedition. Hi, Martin and Björn.
Hey, Jon.
Hey, Jon.
Nice to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you. Okay, if you look out of the boat right now, what can you see?
We see Trondheim harbor, and there is Hurtigbåt, speedboat, ferries. We had a large cruise ship yesterday. Otherwise, it's nice walk, harbor, seafront walk.
Yeah, full of students passing by.
Nice. And Trondheim is a pretty nice town, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It is, and it's
Yeah.
the dock next to us is full with research vessels of different sorts, companies developing new maritime technology. So it's really the place for us to be.
Nice. Because you're on a boat called Rimfare. Can you tell me the meaning of that name?
Yeah, well,
Go ahead, Martin.
I had a previous boat called Velfar, meaning like well-traveler or something like that. And Rimfar, Rim means frost or winter. So it's frost traveler, I think you can translate it. It's ancient Norse lingo. So that's what we like.
Nice. So you like sailing in the cold then?
Yeah, well, also the warm climate.
Also.
It's quite nice to feel alive when it's a bit.
Yeah.
We tried to find cold up here on our way up from Sweden to Norway, but it's been very warm and pleasant in that sense. But we didn't find so much cold, actually.
No, it's not exactly the season for cold, is it? But
No, but
after what I learned, you're going to stay in Trondheim for a month, so you might get a little bit cooler weather.
Yeah.
It will be a mix, I'm sure.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about the boat? Because it has quite a history, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean the Rimfar is one of the original Challenge 67s from the British Steel Global Challenge race, built 1991. The first race 92-93, which was designed by Chay Blythe after his own experience of sailing solo around the world, the westerly route. To just make it a little bit harder than regular race. So it was amateurs that could sign up to participate in this race on 10 equal boats, built in steel and stainless steel and as tough as they can get. And although they were amateurs to start with from all walks of life, they were quite professional after training half a year together intensively under one professional skipper on each boat. So that's sort of described as the toughest yacht race around the world. And this particular boat was skippered by Pete Goss in the first race and Simon Walker in the second. Later, the Challenge 67s have been used for sail training, sailing schools, charter, quite several in high latitude, Antarctica and the Arctic and so on. So that's a bit
Nice.
background.
Yeah. And then you bought it, and that's 8 years ago or something?
Even more. It was 2012 actually. That was a bit of a crazy idea, probably.
You don't know?
So I wanted to,
Most sailboats boys are crazy ideas, isn't it?
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, no, I wanted to sort of combine my passion for ocean and sailing with my work life in marine research, and to use the boat for that. And there was a couple of these for sale. I had been looking at them for quite some time, but this particular one was sold by the British Military Sailing School in Gosport, Joint Services Training Center, and that's military surplus, basically. So I thought this was a good deal, and from there on, yeah, reality hits, and then we started from there.
Yeah. And then you've turned it into a floating science lab. Sort of.
Yeah, it's just been a sort of a journey. Yeah, we started with marine litter campaigns from 2013 to 2016, and we sailed to, for example, the Baltic Sea, the Policy Week that takes place on the island Gotland every year, in the beautiful city of Visby, and had arranged politician discussions and with plastic industry and things like that, and had public exhibitions, and also we did some small research project, and then we realized that this is quite handy actually, or practical, and it's a low carbon footprint and cost effective way of doing some research expeditions. So that was the sort of start of some of these ideas that we now are implementing finally after years of preparations.
Nice. And how were you welcomed when you coming into harbor with the sailboats, with politicians and other influential people? Is it easier to get access to people when you actually have a sailboat?
Definitely. I mean, that's what we have seen, both of us, in many times before. When you come in to harbor with, especially a bit spectacular boat or a special boat in some way, but any boat that come in sort of is a conversation starter in many ways. You people come down and talk to where you're coming from, what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so that's also your experience, Björn.
Yeah, and I have been doing that for 5 seasons. We had a nice chat earlier, Jon, in your podcast, and my was 100% sun, wind, water, electric, zero waste, young people, and in Baltic Sea and around Scandinavia. And the boat was painted, and people come down and like Martin just said, where are you from? What are you doing, and why? and that happens with this. This is a much bigger boat, and it's painted in colorful sort of advertising the point, sailing for science, and coming into a science university city like Trondheim. Of course, it attracts people, and yes, people are coming down to the marina and being more relaxed than if we sort of met them at a conference room somewhere. And so it's a great vessel for communication, actually.
Nice.
And we have had along the journey from Smögen in July. We started in July 22nd. We've had display. We have a tent, Sailing for Science tent, and the scientists are packed full of different equipment and stuff and samples and meet up with general public on the pier, which has been very popular and successful on this trip. So we just arrived, so it's sort of exhausted, but also very happy about. We have been living with PDF presentations for years about how great this is, and now we have shown that it is great actually. So it's so nice to do it in real life and not just in PDF and PowerPoint presentations.
Yeah, it's hard to sail on a PDF.
Yeah. No, so we have now we have new images and we have young people on board and they're excited and they're scientists and from like 7-8 nationalities we've had on board. These PhD students and master students and oops, are you still there?
I am still here.
Okay, but the laptop shut down. Anyway, the energy has been fantastic with these people. Some of them never sailed before and had this great experiencing of sailing nighttime and shifts and all that. So
Nice.
So at least 2 or 3 of them told us that this was the experience of their lifetime, sort of, and they're young, ambitious, clever students. So it's a blessing to be around these kind of people.
And along the way up the Norwegian coast, Swedish and Norwegian coast, you've been to some pretty spectacular places, haven't you?
Really?
Yes. I mean, Norwegian West Coast is fantastic.
We've been into most of the big fjords along the way.
Right.
So from this little fjord between Sweden and Norway, Idefjord, and then sort of going from there, increasing the excitement. Lysefjord inside Stavanger is, of course, fantastic. And then the Hardangerfjord, we didn't went that far in, but we sailed all the way into Sognefjord on the tack in a small gale, and then tacked out the day after. And we went all the way into Geiranger, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, Geiranger it's a long way in, but it's fantastic to have been sailing into Geiranger. It was not much in, but we just to be there was a great experience, and it was marvelous weather. So and I was paddling around in the dinghy taking pictures. That was just too good to be true, almost.
And being in Geirangerfjorden and Sognefjorden, I'm guessing you saw a lot of cruise ships.
Yes. We did.
Yes.
That's quite the opposite of what you're doing, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean that's also connects a bit to our project, Jon, with sort of Nordic tourism and tour, the different ways you can explore this beautiful environment. And yeah, cruise tourism is just increasing, and I think Norwegian coastal communities are realizing this every day. In Ålesund was 2 cruise ships on the same day, and they're coming up to these fjords.
You walk through Ålesund, nice old time quarters, and then suddenly you see through a street, you see a cruise ship that's much bigger than all the other houses. So it's they're massive and we could. There's a lot to say about that for sure.
Particularly one of the pictures you posted, Björn, about when you were in Stavanger, I think it was Stavanger, with your own boat. And you took a picture of...
Yeah.
Was it not Stavanger?
No, you mean the comparison?
Yep.
Yeah. When I arrived Oslo back in 2022, this huge cruise ship just left the harbor, and white smoke coming out from it. Didn't look very, even though it's white, it didn't look very fresh, nice.
No.
And now when we arrived in Trondheim, there was a huge cruise ship leaving and with black smoke just pouring out or pumping out from the chimney.
Yeah.
And yeah, so of course they have a very strong negative impact on pristine places. And I mean, little Geiranger, it's a very tiny little place with a few restaurants and maybe a little grocery store and something more there. And they have 3,000 passengers on board.
Yeah.
Coming in, and these tiny roads are packed with buses back and forth. Looks like a Jacques Tati movie when they're going up and down and try to meet in curves and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
No.
our experiences have been fantastic on the trip, and the reality is very close in those fjords. Since it's so narrow and it's super deep and super steep. Very cool areas.
It is definitely. What kind of science work are you doing on this trip?
Yeah, we have been catering for an EU project called DiverSea, which is about marine biodiversity, and especially the plankton, sort of the lowest part of the marine food web, which is sort of supporting all the fish production and so on. So that it is a project that aims to develop better methods to both monitor and give decision support for policy or decision makers, and also to include citizen science or simpler tools combined with a more high tech that, for example, NTNU here, they have been launching their own mini satellite that they can control and have a higher resolution to take images of the ocean from space. So they can, for example, see different colors in very many wavelengths with high detail. So they can distinguish if it is particles coming out from a river or if it's chlorophyll from microalgae of a certain type. So that's what we have been doing, taking samples in all these places while the satellite is monitoring from space when it is a clear day. It has to be a cloud-free day to be able to take pictures from space.
And my role is also a communication sort of person, since I'm not a scientist, just a sailor. And when I explain the satellite thing, we have said that when the satellite takes picture, we check the reality and we teach the satellite to know what it actually sees, sort of, in simple terms.
Yes, ground truthing in some sense.
Yeah.
So. And also we've been taking a lot of samples for new ways of checking what species is living in certain water body. So it's called eDNA, or environmental DNA. And it's kind of a way to use the DNA fingerprint to map what plankton is there, but also what kind of fish might have swum by recently. So it's sort of a scent of what is living, instead of only looking at in the microscope and sort of counting and identifying species. So it's also very new methods that has been applied. And what really nice is a sailboat. We have very simple ways of taking the samples. For example, we're using a lobster pot line hauler as our primary winch to take samples down to 350 meters, and also simple pumps driven by drill power tools.
Yeah.
So it has been quite
very interesting, and I think we stopped at like 36 or 38 different stations. They call it stations where we make the sampling, and after maybe 1 to 2 or 3 hours, the scientists have been crawling around on deck and taking samples at different depths and sending down advanced equipment as well down to large depth. And then after that, they have been working in the sort of the lab up front in the boat, and in the galley they are sitting there with analysis instruments. So it works well, and it's a nice sort of little community on board when that is happening. And it's not, I mean, we are the sailors, we are not butlering the scientists. We're all doing this all together because it's a small boat, and it's not a big sampling ship. We share, we cook together, we do the dishes together. Some dinners have been, on one end of the table there's a microscope going on, taking picture of algae, and the other end we're sitting having bolognese. So it has
Sounds
been
like a nice life.
very exciting and fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has been very.
So combining this high tech with the most low tech solutions like the Secchi disk, which is something that's been around for over 100 years, for taking measurements on the clarity or visibility of water.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a round disk with a black and white disk that you're lowering into the water until you don't see it anymore. And then you just read off on the rope what depth that is. And it's a measurement of how much turbidity or particles and so that is in the water, which is it's very simple but very useful measure on how much light can come into the water, how much of the upper water that is accessible for photosynthesis, actually.
Yeah, and the one issue is that the darkening of coastal waters is a phenomena all over the world, actually, along coasts, due to offsprings from heavy weather just flush out more particles from land, and there's temperature changes makes other particles sort of grow, and pollution, of course, from human activities. And the darkening means that the sunlight doesn't reach as far down as it did before, sort of, or earlier, and that changes the biodiversity situation in each part of the region. So that has also been an important thing for the Diver Sea project to understand and find methods to provide decision maker and politicians with better grounds for making decisions, and sort of figure out scenarios, what is going to happen and what is happening, and what decisions do we have to make to prevent it or to live with it.
And there's also a very nice citizen science app for that we can advertise. It's called Eye on Water, where you basically take a photo with your smartphone on the water
surface.
On the water surface from a boat, for example, or from a dock, and you are also evaluating how you're interpreting the color of the ocean based on a certain color scale that's provided. So that's one way of providing data for us as citizen science.
Yeah.
That's nice, and very easy for ordinary sailors like me to do, like the Secchi disk. But any other tips for sailors who wants to get involved in citizen science?
There are, as you are very engaged in, Jon, as beach cleaning activities, so also ways to count and reporting what kind of litter is. But there are also
temperature is one very simple factor that could be reported, and we could all the data that can be collected from coastal regions is very, very much appreciated by scientists, and we could. That's part of the Sailing for Science idea, is to connect with any sailor or actually any boater to increase the citizen science engagement and deliver data, simple data, temperature. There could be the Secchi disk, there could be the color. To start with, to those open data networks that are available for scientists, like open source information data banks, sort of.
Yeah, invasive species is another such example that there are platforms for.
Yeah, strange South Ocean fishes coming up to Nordic waters and such. Important.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's getting more and more frequent, doesn't it?
Tuna fishes are back in Öresund, for instance,
which we are very for. They're also.
Yeah. And on the west coast, where you are now, they're also back.
That's fantastic. Yeah, it could hopefully a result of better management in the south, but also could be related to climate. Warmer climate and their feeding fish are moving more northwards. So that's things we would like to help facilitate in Sailing for Science, but it's not there. It's also a lot of different steps that need to be implemented for this data to stream to the right place to be meaningful and meaningful for citizens to engage in. But this Ice on Water app and the Secchi disk is just two nice examples that you can already today do from any sailboat.
Yeah. I'm going to put a link out. There is a website with a lot of citizen science projects or apps that ordinary sailors can participate in. I'm going to put that in the text to this app so people can go in and check it out. And talking about collaboration, we're also in you mentioned it a little bit earlier, Martin, about the project we're involved in, the NAPA project. Can you tell us a little bit? No, actually, Björn, can you tell me a little bit about that project?
We had been doing year one in a project called NAPA, and we're writing an Eco-Arctic blue paper about for small-scale tour operators entering the Arctic region. And it's funded by Nordic Institute in Greenland. And we are 8 partners, Sweden, Norway, Holland, Iceland, and Finland, and some more, I think. Anyway, the point and the scheme is to sort of try to be conscious about how to deal with this new pristine region. There's a lot of interest in going up. There is new areas for sailboat tour operators to charter boats and also cruise ships. We should already know that they are there. But how do we behave as newcomers and guests in indigenous people's areas and culture, and how do you act in underwater and on land up in this very sensitive area, maybe one of the last areas in the world that has not been swarmed by tourism, and we have to see, I mean, there's a strong movement already. Tourists go home in Barcelona and on Bali and other places. They are sort of too much pressure on the tourism, and of course that is a result of more and more people coming out of poverty into middle income and possibilities to travel cheaper and so forth. So the pressure is enormous on nature and all the biosystems around, and the melting ice opens up the Arctic region. So we just reporting in year 1,
Yeah.
and we have been funded for year 2. We hope to make an expedition, or we will make an expedition next year in some way or the other, hopefully with Rimfare and Sailing for Science, or and other boats in the region, and meet people and start to conclude this blue paper, which is sort of an advice to small-scale tour operators and tourists, and possibly also sort of a statement into authorities, because there are rules and regulations
Yeah.
being made for cruise ships to try to prevent too much pressure on pristine areas, but they also affect small-scale tour operators with the same rules, which is kind of quite unfair, or it makes it impossible for any activity. I mean, we are a little sailboat with 10 people doesn't make as much pressure as a cruise ship with 3,000 people, of course. And I mean, the authorities and there's many countries involved in that decision up in that region, and it's not so easy to. It's starting to develop, sort of.
Yeah. So the idea of the project is to build together a community of practice, as we say, between actors. It could be small companies. We have the Association for Female Sailors in Finland, Ocean Ladies. We have different types of sailing-based tour operators that we're trying to bring together, sharing experience and building experience base, but also to communicate that, as Björn said. And we are all environmentally engaged, so it's not that we don't want to see protection goals, but also to, as I said, communicate sort of fit for purpose, because ecotourism is a balance between this conservation and exploration of these areas. So for many people that visit, for example, the Arctic, comes home as Arctic ambassadors after their experience.
Yeah.
So that's many good things about that. On the same time, every person places a certain footprint from those trips.
Yeah.
So that's kind of balance. We were just discussing, sharing ideas, and then it of course involves a lot of sea safety, polar sea safety aspects, as well as how to behave in a sustainable way and develop low footprint operations.
Yeah, for instance, we were in the tent here in Trondheim the last couple of days, and one young guy came and he told us that he had been sailing with his girlfriend around Atlantic, and they met a bunch of sailors in Canada and sailed over to Greenland and Iceland, and they went there with what they could find, sort of information, but they would probably be happy to get something more collected information. Okay, guys, you're sailing into this region. Here's some good advice, and please be respectful, or whatever that blue paper will have. And they were, they were sailing in plastic boats, and of course they're good sailors and courtiers, but I bet there was some people that were kind of naive in their going there with kind of naive eyes or minds. You have a great experience of sailing up in those waters and know the dangers and the safety precautions you have to make. So if your part into this blue paper that we're writing together will be very useful would have been very useful for that group. I'm absolutely sure.
Yeah, most definitely. And as you say, the most of the people that sails up there comes home as very eager ambassadors, but that term, you have to see it to experience it to love it or something like that. I think that's because we're not the only ones that using it. Also, the big cruise
Yes.
ships are using it. So it is a little bit of it's like sustainable. It's the last cruise ship I saw dock in Stavanger. It had
Yeah,
sustainable written all over it. Sustainable
Hashtag
cruising. It's like
Yeah.
see one
yeah.
we saw like
Birds.
with 15-meter high letters, hashtag save the sea on the cruise ship. You know, come on.
Yeah.
Blue washing. You can call it blue washing
So yeah,
for sure.
it's definitely blue washing, and it's something we have to be very aware of and try to
Absolutely.
speak up against. But I don't know how, but it is annoying the fuck out of me every time I see that.
So one of our ambitions in the project is to have a dialogue window to decision makers, policy makers. So, for example, Norway did implement these very strict landing rules on Svalbard last year, and which Björn said they apply to these smaller cruise ships as well as this small commercial vessel segment as we are working with, but not for leisure boat. So if you go with a private boat, you are pretty much free to enter anywhere. But if you have a guide on board, then you're not. So then you're in the same category. So these kind of things, it would be nice just to discuss with authorities of because they may not be aware of always the consequences of how the rules are formulated, and similar processes happens either due to geopolitical changes or for nature conservation purposes or for protecting national business as well. Like Greenland is also implementing new rules for tourism there, that you have to be a Greenlandic company, for example. So that a lot of interesting changes happens all across the board that we are looking into for this small project.
Yeah, and also safety is of course an important, like,
Because
two examples that we usually speak with people about is the ice that can be up on the mast and the rig, which can be very heavy when it's, if you in stormy weather, all this water sprinkle makes ice and changes the weight of the boat. The center of the weight moves up. And another issue that has been easy to talk about is and easy to explain is when icebergs flip, suddenly the weight in the iceberg can change and it flips over and sort of creates a smaller tsunami around it, and that's really dangerous. And I mean, people will sail up to icebergs, take selfies, and not having an idea about how close it is before it flips.
what kind of forces they're messing with or taking a chance with? No. Yeah, and I definitely think that this NAPA project or this blue paper, trying to collect all the voices from the most of the small scale boats and also private boats, is very important, because the cruise industry, they are setting the premises for the debate and the rules, because they have tons of money to throw into lobbying politicians, and we don't have
we have
anything at the moment. We have a little project at the moment, which is going to grow bigger, but it is, as you say, very important that the small scale tourist industry in the high latitudes gets a decent voice, and that's our window to making some changes. Yep. Next time, now it's got very serious, guys. But
It is serious. Yeah.
it is serious stuff. So why not? It is serious stuff sailing up there. What's your plan for the rest of the year? You were talking about the next year sailing up further up north or somewhere, but the rest of the year
Yeah,
heading for and sailing for
now
science.
just landing and starting to think about how to structure our, say, operation, including various things related to our experience of welcoming the crew into, which, as Björn said, comes some that never been on a sailboat and have their science program on board, and how to both make sure that they can take their samples, but also that they become a part of the crew, that regardless of where they're starting. So that's one part. We're also developing our sustainability plan. We want to be the operations as with a low footprint as possible. So it was a bit stressful this year, but we did manage to find collaborations with companies that small scale, some local to where our region, supplying organic food in bulk volumes, and that also gave us much less waste generation, since we can buy larger packages and better cost effective, of course. So that we want to develop more. We also we managed to find HVO bio-based diesel, which we also now find here in Trondheim, because we're sailing as much as possible, but still there will be need for engine and auxiliary to charge all this. We had a minus 80 degrees freezer for these couples, and another freezer. Yeah. So
that sounds power hungry.
Yeah, all those aspects we want to develop further, and also our operations to build more on student and youth co-designing the coming programs.
Yeah.
So that we want to start already now here from Trondheim and with other collaborations.
There's a big interest, and it's we realize how much value we can deliver to young students by just having the boat available, and not trying to find financial solutions so students can come with us without having to pay from their own pocket, and scholarship programs or likely. And we have met a lot of people from NTNU now in our tent that sort of randomly walked by and said, "Oh, wow, what is this?" And they support that idea very strongly. So we have some, call it homework or planning for coming sessions or expeditions. We also have a sailing plan at this moment, and that is go back home to Southampton for where the challenge boats are sort of originating from, and there's a strong community down there, and we want to say hello to them with Rimfar and say this is what we have done and this is what we will do, and we know that there are people there that will be very excited to see how their fleet do develop, and Rimfar is sort of the latest totally renovated one of the fleet that started in 1991. So we are checking on that, and then possibly sail over to Sweden again to spend the winter there, doing some fixes that need to be done.
For example, we're installing several new heaters. We have a wood chimney. We have a diesel forced air heaters that we just replaced, but didn't have time to installed, so it has been not fully necessary for this nice summer cruise.
No.
But we're getting ready for
Ready
the
for-
Arctic,
ready-
with
ready for the Arctic, yeah.
anchoring gear and so on. Yeah.
And it's a practical, personal thing also, that Martin can do most of that fixing and being at home with his family. That's instead of doing it in Istanbul or Athens or Tromsø. So it's right.
But-
Fixing both in exotic places.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's really cool what you guys are doing, and we're closing in on an hour here now. But as far I don't remember the name of the guy, but one of the founders of the Havforskningsinstituttet in Norway, that's the Ocean Science
the
Institute.
marine,
Is that correct?
Institute for Marine Research in English, yes.
Yeah. Right. One of the founders there, his one of his thoughts was they would have a lot of small research vessels going around, because that was way cheaper, more efficient, and more sustainable than having the big ones. But look where we ended.
Yeah, we're going a little bit
You're trying to
backwards
change
to the roots. All research vessels were sailing just some decades back, and it worked brilliant. So
and the students, I talked to them after coming here and sort of summing up a little bit, and they said much rather sail on a ship or a boat yacht like this and have this sort of camping or camp feeling than being a guest on a big ship. You feel that you sort of disturb the crew. and being part of the crew is an important factor for good impression to live on the ocean, in the ocean, with the ocean, day and night, over time. That is a great add-on feature to sampling.
Yeah, we could, when we had time, we could stop on some nice fishing grounds. We're catching the fish for the fish soup, Norwegian style.
Yeah.
And so it's all very sort of near the water, in the water, connected. And as one of the younger students said, this felt like a real expedition.
Yeah. So
cool. Nice. Thank you, guys. And we'll definitely hear more from you. So
okay. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Good luck. Bye. Hang on. Hi again, sailors, and thank you for listening to this podcast. You will find more podcasts on explorenord.no, both in Norwegian and in English. If you want to know more about sailing in cold waters, I can highly recommend, without blushing, the book I wrote together with Bob Shepton. It's called, surprise, surprise, High Latitude Sailing, Self-Sufficient Sailing Techniques for Cold Waters and Winter Seasons. It covers pretty much everything you need to know to get out sailing the whole year round and sailing to remote places in the world. You'll find it, you can buy the book on explorenord.no, on Amazon, or have your bookstore order it. If you're interested in Svalbard, I also wrote Sail to Svalbard. You can buy them at the same places. So please don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions at all. You'll find me on explorenord.no. In the meantime, go out sailing.